Great to be here today with you all. I'm Richard Black, the CEO for Teremana. I've spent most of my life in the alcohol beverage industry, but what's happened in the last 10 years in tequila has been nothing short of remarkable. It's truly been an incredible growth story in a category, and it's become more and more crowded. Breaking through in a crowded space is about building authenticity. And that's what I want to talk you through today. Tequila today has been one of the key drivers of the spirits category. If we look globally, we see phenomenal numbers here, with the United States having a plus 11% compound annual growth rate over the last 5 years. Just mind-blowing numbers that have driven this category. And we're seeing a lot of traction taking place in the global markets as well, with rest of world compound annual growth rate up over 9% in the last several years. Mexico, the home of tequila, has been more stable. There's been a lot of movement within tequila in Mexico itself with the rise of Cristalinos, but overall the category is very mature in Mexico. And with that meteoric growth and rise that we've seen in the marketplace, there's just been an unprecedented amount of tequilas launched. And this isn't just extensions or SKUs, this is actual new tequila brands that have come into the market over the last 5 years, 61 tequila brands. And they're bringing different approaches to how they're being made, different taste profiles, backed by celebrities, a number of brands, and coming into the world and giving consumers options and choices. And that means this emerging category is becoming more and more crowded. So let's talk about how we believe you break through and how Teremana as the brand has broken through in this incredibly crowded category. So I talked about authenticity at the beginning, and we truly believe authenticity and building authenticity in your brand is what allows you to break through. And you might say, Richard, authenticity should always have been there and it always has been there, which I agree with. But in a world of social media, AI, the internet, people can really dive deep into brands and understand where they're being made, how they're being made, who's involved in the brands. So that's why your authenticity today is more important than ever. I think a lot of successful brands came up, buying from distilleries and bottling, which is a great way to make a product, but they weren't necessarily being authentic and they were successful. In today's world, that would be very challenging. There's 3 key pillars to driving authenticity, we believe. One is being purpose-driven. Of course, your liquid is critically important. You need to have a great juice and make sure that's a gate opener to the consumer, but you need to have a North Star, something that's more important than just selling the product itself, but something that drives the brand forward. You need to be consumer-centric. Think about your consumer first, put them at the heart of everything you do, something we've done at Teremana from day one. And community engagement. Your community, some of the other speakers spoke about this. Your community is going to make or break you. So make sure you're reacting to your community and you're working with your community on an ongoing basis. And when I talk about the consumer and purpose, they have to be relevant and it has to be connected, right? You can't have purpose for purpose sake. Teremana was launched at the beginning of the pandemic. There was a lot of bad news out in the world. There was a lot of negativity. So this idea of bringing good mana, bringing positive energy to the world really resonated with consumers at the time of launch. So making sure things are relevant to your consumer are critical in building authenticity. And how do you make yourself consumer-centric or make your company consumer-centric? It's deep understanding of the consumer. This doesn't need to be expensive research. This is about talking to your consumer at events, talking with them online, engaging with them, understanding what drives them and what they care about. It's also about consumer-first decision-making. I see so many companies and brands saying, I need to do this for route to market. I need to do this for cost, and not putting the consumer at the front of what they're doing. Put the consumer at the front of what you're doing. Of course, you have to work out that route to market, but that is going to be your driving lens through what you do. And then also value-driven experiences. We've talked about this idea of having a great product. That is essential. You need to have a great product and great liquid. But ultimately, if you're going to connect with consumers over the long term, it's about engaging on an emotional level. So having value-driven experiences is critical to that success. And lastly, but certainly not least, is about empowering and connecting with your communities. This is something that we're seeing with all brands, and many, many successful brands start with a small community and build out from there. Andrew talked to that with Chinola and how they really built that community before expanding in a broader way. Empowering the communities you impact. So there's a huge ecosystem in tequila. When Teremana decided to build its distillery in the small town of Jesus Maria, we impacted a community, and we worked with that community to make sure the impact we were making was aligned with what they wanted for their community. So through the difficult pandemic times, one of the most challenging periods in modern supply chain history, we were able to supply the market because we had a community and partnerships with the town where we were producing the tequila. And then it's about giving support back to your communities that support, or supporting the communities that support you. And Teremana, as I said, launched at the beginning of the pandemic. So one of the things we did in the communities we showed up, we had the Manamobile, which was a roving food truck and cocktail truck. And we went to first responders in our communities and fed them after grueling 12-hour shifts. And it made a huge, huge impact of giving back to our communities, that word of mouth and that integration of the brand into the communities that we were impacting. And it's not just in Teremana, we see it across many brands that authenticity is a key driver in breaking through in crowded categories. Brands like Grey Whale have got purpose behind them. Their purpose is about protecting the oceans, right? So they partner with Oceana and 1% for the planet. And they've carved out an incredible niche for themselves in the space of premium gin. If you look at Athletic Brewing, Claire was talking about consumer trends around great flavor. They knew consumers were looking for low or no alcohol products, but with great flavor. And it's just been a huge commercial success because they tapped in to consumer-centricity. And finally, a brand we all know, one of the most successful brands in American history in spirits, is Tito's, right? They started their community in Austin, and they built out from there. Today, they do a plethora of different initiatives with their Love Tito's angle. But one of the ones that was community-based was Block to Block, where they went into communities and they worked with the NGOs and nonprofit organizations to build gardens and farms in local communities. That's true power of giving back to your communities. And they do that all across the country. And as I said, become one of the most successful brands in the spirit space. But bringing it back to Teremana and what's driven us as a company and continues to drive us is this idea of having purpose in everything we do, putting the consumer at the front of what we believe in and how we go to market, and empowering our communities. And that has driven a big commercial success that we believe is just at the beginning of the Teremana journey, and we want to continue driving so we keep this authenticity true to the brand and drive commercial success and help build our partners around the world. Thank you very much.